I'm reflecting first on this day, Good Friday. I'm thinking about, it's a day that is about death in some ways. It's a day that we remember uncertainty, day of Christ's death. And on that day, the uncertainty about what would happen next. Thankfully, now we know Easter. Back then, that day of uncertainty on a Good Friday, which was anything but good, was a day of death, a day of despair, day of hope for some who thought they knew what might be coming. But we're certainly in that time. I don't know how all of you started your Good Friday. And I'll confess during this process, I might become emotional. So this morning I was first listening to a chaplain talking about death in a hospital, helping to connect families with their dying family member, having to convey that sense of death over the phone to the family member, and I just burst. I guess I can feel it now. The tears overwhelm me. Listening to, the morning news reports. Actually, not want to listen to news anymore. Millions of people without jobs. So here we are on a Good Friday now that back then was certainly not a Good Friday, but a day when there was death and uncertainty. Thankfully, we're in a county where we've not been ravaged so much as some other places, at least at this point. I've got very good friends in New York City, all of whom, in one way or another, know someone who died. So we're all dealing with this, and that's part of how I'm dealing with it. As some of you may know, just thinking of uncertainties, part of what I still do is counsel families dealing with individuals, family members with mental illness. And this morning with a mother dealing with the uncertainty. Her son's psychotic, had escaped, so to speak. She's in Atlanta. He ends up in California, and we all thought we had him safely tucked away in an Airbnb with a cell phone so he could communicate. He would stay in the Airbnb and try and stay safe until he could get more help. And then she calls frantic, uncertain, because he had been robbed and ended up now apparently on the streets and uncertain about where he is. I think about this agony. So I enter this moment thinking about what we're going through, the words death and uncertainty, which certainly that morning, the Good Friday, the bad Friday, 2,000 years ago when Christ died, was certainly that day of uncertainty and death. But at the same time, I think about hope. I think that back then, Jesus's followers had hope amidst this terrible uncertainty and dread of the day. And I think we all have elements of hope that are emerging in our consciousness. I, for one, have hope that beyond this time, as we continue to cope with whatever there is, which will take a long time probably to get through, that I think we are, and even now, beginning to see that humankind is also responding with new ways of kindness. We're seeing some divisions be pierced with relationships across those divides. So I do have some hope that after this beyond this time, we're going to have a kinder, gentler, less divided world, less divided country. So those are some of my hopes. And sometimes in order to, handle my emotions and to try and handle my imagination of the kind of world we want to help build and be a part of after times of death and uncertainty, I ponder it by playing the flute. And so I'd like to offer this morning a little bit of flute. And as some of you know, I never know what I'm going to play. I just play. That's the way it is with the Native American flute. The natives call it the medicine stick. It's basically an integrating experience that it provides, especially for the player. And I love to teach people, by the way, how to play it. It's very simple. As far as learning it is very simple. The next thing is you have to sort of open up to the universe and just let the music of the universe flow through. And for some people who really like to control their universe, that's the hardest part, sort of opening up. But so the natives found it to be a healing instrument. And actually, there's good research that shows that for the player, in fact, the impact on the brain waves is very calming. In fact, it's an instrument used in some trauma treatment programs. And sometimes for those who are listening, it can also be calming. So I'd like to play a bit. And as I do so, I'm thinking about the challenges that we're experiencing, this transition that we're entering into in our church calendar, from the day of death and uncertainty to the hope that rising new life can give. So I encourage you to, be thoughtful as well about how you are also observing the world around you that we live in today, as well as thinking about that world 2,000 years ago. And think not only about how we're handling it, but try to imagine that better world that we're going to be moving into with the new sort of tapping into the reservoir of love and possibility that we can resurrect into the world as we go through this COVID-19 crisis. And for those who feel so inclined, I'll play a piece and then let one of you comment. You can put your hand up and say, I want to comment. And offer maybe a sign of hope, offer an image, offer us perhaps some of the thoughtful ways that you see the world improving as we get through this time. So I've got two flutes. This is my flute called Spirit Horse. You can see it's got sort of a rather scary horse head, but this is my spirit horse. And I'll start with that one. This is a drone flute some of you may have seen, and I'll bring that one in next. Actually, both of these flutes, and I have a collection of them, both of these were made by the flute maker Bob Child, Beth Child's brother. Some of you, I think, know Beth. And this one I like because it incorporates the frequency 528 hertz, which has been discovered to be what's called the healing frequency. It was actually discovered in ancient Egyptian times. And there's even research today that shows us that this is a frequency that can be very calming. In fact, and some of you know, I think all of you know, I was laid up in a bit of last year after a bicycle accident. And when I was in the rehab center, I had trouble sleeping. And I would use an app on my phone and just listen to this frequency at 528 hertz. And it would put me to sleep. So I'm just going to give you that tone first. And I hope that it comes through the computer in a way that's comforting too. So this is what the ancient Egyptians found as the healing frequency. That's one of the reasons I like this flute. So I'm going to offer a contemplative piece so that you can also think about this time, this day we're in, and imagine a more peaceful world based more in the love that we all embrace. And then maybe one of you or more of you will have an image to offer. So this is for you. I don't know about you, but I just took a walk around Tryon again, looking at this beautiful spring, the flowers, and feeling some of the renewed hope that spring brings this day. Do any of you have any images or thoughts of hopes beyond this day of uncertainty that you'd like to offer?
The only thing I got was that my breathing slowed down to the point that it was like sleep breathing, calm, deep, and it's just so, I don't know, it's just like cares left. So that was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You're relaxing.
Mm.
Good. Good. Anything else? Don't have to be. Now I'm going to introduce this other one here. See how long that is? So, some of you may have seen this one. This is a happier flute also. I play a happier flute. It still may calm your breathing though, Jackie, I hope. We need the calming. We're in a place we've never been before. Some people call it like a war. You know, this morning I heard 17 million now unemployed in this country. That's huge. We've got a lot of hurt and healing that needs to be occurring. So this day of uncertainty, this day of transition in our Christian world from the day of death to resurrection brings us hope. So this one is actually two flutes. I'm going to start with one. You see it has two holes on this. So it actually gives you a chance to play two flutes. One is articulated and the other is a drone. So it's a little, well, I'll let it be whatever it is for you. So this is for your calmness and for your imagination too, of how we can continue both our strong community that we have through our church and our broader community to help us with our families, with our community, with our surrounding world, to be comforted as we move forward. So this is for you too. Oh, look, Linda's got her flute. Are you going to play in a moment, Linda? So we'll see. I'll play this one and then we'll see if Linda feels like playing a piece. So. Could you hear the birds there? Oh. So I'm trying to bring out the peace of the moment, trying to bring out the birds. Aren't the birds brilliant this year? Just walking around, awakening, opening the windows, hearing the bird songs. But now, I think I will come back to the day that it is. And I'm thinking this is probably a closing song having to do with our day, Good Friday. And maybe if it's okay, thinking, Megan, maybe at the end of the moment you'd be happy to offer a closing prayer, I hope. And I'm asking you spontaneously. That if anyone, before I play this piece that I'm going to play, and I'll introduce it in just a moment, if you have anything else to say, anything that sort of is coming to you as you're imagining how best to move through this time of uncertainty that you'd like to offer the group. Is there anyone else who has some thoughts? Or Linda, do you want to play your thoughts into a song with your flute? Maybe not.
Hi, Virgil. It's Donna.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We'll give Linda some time. We'd love to hear her play so she can think about it. Thank you. This is exquisite. Brings tears to my eyes. Another group that of which I'm a part has been asking for evidence of new life.
Mm-hmm.
And that may mean, budding trees and sunrises but in my case, I sent a picture of our great-grandson who turned 1 on the day that we pretty much closed the country down.
Mm-hmm.
And it just having that new life, that new person in the family, to know that, well, I'm weeping, but it's been exciting and joyful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Donna, thank you for that.
There is hope.
There is hope. Anyone else? I think Linda's having trouble with her audio. So,
that last one, it reminded me of looking out this morning and sun coming up and the way the light would shift coming through the trees because it's windy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such a delightful time of year because you get the wind in the winter and it doesn't make any noise. And now you get all this lovely rustling of the leaves, and it's hopeful. That's hopeful.
It's hopeful. Yes.
The moon has been gorgeous in the last 3 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. You walk around in that gorgeousness and you hear, like Amy was texting us, the goldfinches outside her window. You walk around and it's like everything is perfect except. And those exceptions. Donna, thank you so much for sharing about your new grandchild. As I look for hope, as Liz and I look for hope, this morning we had a wonderful conversation with our daughter, Heidi, who some of you have met. I know that Megan has met her. And she and her wife, Sutton, are expecting a baby. The due date is a week from yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're thinking we might have our 8th grandchild during this coming week. And thankfully, it's all set up for, we think will be a very good home birth. They're in Boston, and getting out to the hospital is also a challenge. So So I will offer another contemplative piece, and I'm thinking of this mostly as we, Liz and I were watching a piece last night that was on the various Christian churches. And as we know, sometimes there can be feelings of division between those various churches. And so we were watching sort of a presentation about, the church history and going through the ages and all of the divisions. But at the end of it, you realize one thing we all have is today and Sunday, as well as Christmas. We think about the love that surrounds all of that. Today is a day of pondering the death and uncertainty, a day of hope, because 2,000 years ago, as I said, at that point, humankind was unaware of what would actually happen within a few days with that full resurrection of hope and love. So my closing piece is dedicated to this day that we're experiencing as Christians, dedicated to the sacrificial act of Jesus, the day of his death, what he gave, the uncertainty that was felt, that we feel today, and the hope that we have for tomorrow. So I offer this for you, and then Megan might offer a closing word. So. Love you all. Megan, I'll let you close.
Sure. I will offer a blessing from a source that I often go to for devotional, Circle of Grace by Jan Richardson. And this is a blessing for Good Friday called Blessing That Makes a Way for You. What I know is that this blessing will begin as soon as you set out, that this blessing will meet you in every step, that it is gladly bound to you and cannot do without you, that you are part of the path this blessing makes, that it creates a way not only for you, but through you and in you, that it finds its road as you find yours. I can hardly fathom how it is that this blessing is already waiting for you, even as you fashion it step by faltering step. But there it is, in all its wending mystery. So may you meet it with courage. May you enter it with clarity. May you walk it with wisdom. May you travel it with joy. May you come to it not as one buffeted by chance, but as one who has chosen. Uncertain perhaps, unready perhaps, but this path, this one with abandon. This. Amen.